Hi Year 7s and welcome to the new topic on representing and interpreting data. In this unit we'll be doing lots of different things with regards to data. We will be organising it into tables, we'll be classifying data, we'll also be displaying data in lots of different ways using a variety of graphs. We'll be comparing some data and we'll also be analysing data. In other words, we'll be working out what this data is actually telling us. Before we start today's topic, we're going to look at a couple of key things that you need to bring for this unit to every lesson. One of them is a ruler. Please don't come to class without a ruler for this entire topic. You will need it every single day. The second thing is a grey lead pencil and an eraser, so that if you do make some mistakes when you are drawing tables or graphs, you can easily rub them out rather than having to start the whole thing again. The third thing that's there on this slide is the Science Graph Pad. Now it is a red graph pad booklet that was book listed for you in maths. It has lined paper on one side and graph paper on the other, and we want you to use that particular workbook for all of your notes and examples and exercises for this entire topic. So you can leave your green workbook in your locker, but please bring your red Science Graph Pad to every class, and of course bring it home when you are doing your whisks. Final thing down the bottom there, you'll see that little yellow smiley face guy. When you see this symbol on any of the future slides, that's a reminder to you that you need to write this particular information into your workbook. Alright, let's get stuck into things. Classifying data. You should have seen or heard the word classifying before, perhaps in a science class. Classifying means sorting things into different types, and that's exactly what we're doing today. And we're going to begin by getting you to write down some data about yourself. Now on this particular slide you'll see the little yellow guy up the top there. That means you will need to draw up with your ruler this table into your workbook on the lined page side of the book. There are 8 different types of data down that left hand side: your height, the house you belong to, the length of your foot, etc. So you're going to be writing down those titles, and then in the column next to them you're going to be writing your answers. In some cases you may need to go and do some measuring, or get someone to help you with some measuring, particularly of your height. I want you to measure those particular pieces of data as accurately as you possibly can. Don't just round things off to the nearest centimetre. If you are 162.3 centimetres, then that's what I want you to write down. Just for now, the type of data on the right hand side, we'll get to talk about that soon, but for now I want you to put in your 8 answers here on the table once you've drawn it up. So pause this video now while you go and do that, and I'll see you back here in a minute. Okay, so hopefully you filled in those 8 answers without too many dramas, and as I said, for now we are leaving the types of data blank because we're going to go on and find a little bit about the types of data in the next slide. Alright, on this particular page you'll see again the little guy up in the left hand corner, so you will need to write this down shortly, but let's just have a watch and a listen for now. You'll see there are 2 different sections on this slide. One of them's blue, one of them's green. So instantly we can see that we are classifying data into 2 different types or 2 different ways. The first one on the left there is qualitative data. Qualitative data, and that's data that's placed into groups or categories, and it's data that does not involve numbers. So if you have a look at your table that you filled out just a moment ago, you will have some data in there that is numbers, some of them that is not numbers. Clearly the qualitative data relates to the data there that is not at all to do with numbers. Now, not only do we have qualitative data, but within that we have 2 other categories, nominal and ordinal. Nominal, the first word there, means that we're going to need some other subgroups or other groups that break that particular heading up into. So for example, if we're looking at hair colour, we'd be thinking about whether it's blonde, brown, black, green, blue, purple, for example, and we'll be writing that particular word down. Ordinal means that we are using a particular ranking system. We are dividing these categories up into some sort of order, whether it's because of their size or their importance, or perhaps whether it's gold, silver or bronze in the Olympic Games medals. It has some specific order to it, and if we have a look at the word ordinal, you'll see that the word ordinal does actually contain a little bit of the word order in it. So that might help you remember that ordinal means breaking something up into groups that has some sort of order in it. Okay, so they're the two types of qualitative data that are in blue on the left. On the right hand side, we're going to be looking now at quantitative data, and quantitative data is in numerical form. Numerical form means numbers. The way that I remember the difference between qualitative and quantitative is I just remember quantitative has an N and numbers start with N. So that's how I remember quantitative. It's to do with numbers. Now, some of the data that we had from your table would have had numbers in it. Your height would have been number data. Within quantitative data, there are two different categories. One of them is called discrete, and discrete data is counted in exact values that go up by the same amounts. So example, the one that I've put here is if I was sending you off to do a survey of the households in your street to find out the number of children in a family, it would be possible that they could have 0 children, or 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. children. However, I would always be expecting you to come back with answers that are whole numbers. I would not be expecting you to come back with an answer of 2.73 children in the house next door to yours. Don't think that's possible. So discrete means going up in exact values by even amounts. Now, the other type of quantitative data we have, the last one there, is continuous data. And continuous means it continues on, there's no gaps, there's no jumping. It means that we could be looking at all of those decimal values in our numbers and including those as well, and that those values would be quite possible or quite likely. So they're measured in a continuous decimal scale. I've got an example here of perhaps if we were measuring the heights of all the students in our class, we'd have a variety of heights, might be say 174.6, 142.9. What I'm getting at there is that it is quite possible to have people's heights that are not just whole centimetre values. If we're measuring accurately, of course we're going to have some people's heights who are in between those decimal values, in between those whole number values I should say, not necessarily just always whole numbers. So they are continuous data. Alright, so again I'm going to get you to pause this video. You have 6 keywords and their meanings here to write down. You might like to think about how you're going to set that out on your page. You might be going to do it the same way as what's on this slide. I'll leave it up to you, but you do need to be clear that qualitative has 2 categories within it and quantitative has 2 categories within it, and you need to know all 6 words and their meanings. Alright, so pause the video now and get this information down in your book, please. Okay, now that you have those 6 words and their meanings written down, we're going to go back to the table of values that you filled out before, and we're going to put in some answers in that third column where it says type of data. So this is where we're classifying the data into the different types. You can see that I've filled in a couple of values there relevant to me, my height being 175.4 centimetres, and the house that I belong to being Thoresby. Now over on the right hand side, I need to allocate 2 words to each of those answers. I need to decide whether they are quantitative or qualitative. So in the case of my height, it is a number value, so it is certainly quantitative with an N, so as number. And then I need to decide whether it is only whole number values that were possible there, or could it have been any decimal values that could have been recorded in there for my height or other people's heights. And of course, the ability for us to be varying heights in between whole centimetre values means that this measurement is continuous data. The second category there, Thoresby, is definitely qualitative data. It's not number data, it is a category. Thoresby is a category. Are there any orders to Athelston, Lincoln, Sherwood or Thoresby? Well, I'm sure some people might think that some houses are more important than others, or should be coming first, or should not be coming first. But in reality, they are just 4 categories with no particular order in them, so therefore it is nominal data. Now your job is to fill in 2 words for the remaining 6 questions or 6 answers that you've written down there, please. First of all, deciding whether each answer there is number or not number, in other words, quantitative or qualitative, and then a second word describing each of those pieces of data. So again, I'm going to get you to pause the video and fill that out the best way that you know how. You're going to bring this information back into class with you. So let's pause and fill this in now. Alright, hopefully that's got you thinking about the types of data that you've recorded there and what words best describe or classify that data. The last thing you're going to do for this video, of course, is to write down a couple of sentences which summarise what you've done. So you're not going to rewrite all of this information again. You're going to summarise it. So you're going to condense it. You're going to write down just the key points of what was really important out of all of this. And then, of course, you're going to finish it off with a question of your own. Now, maybe that question is going to be asking for some clarification in your next lesson. Maybe you have a question to ask your teacher or your friends about a particular piece of data or a word that was in this video. Maybe you've got some questions about some work that we might be going ahead to do later on in this topic. Or maybe you've got a thinking question that you would like to give to one of your friends when you get back to class. Whatever it is, write it down now and bring this workbook back into class ready for the next session. See you then. Bye.